You got a big truck and you want to adjust your own clutch, or you want to know how it's supposed to be done. Right here it is, class is in session. First things first, I'm going to try to explain this for somebody that don't have a damn clue about trucks. Somebody that, is capable of fixing things and knows how to turn a wrench, but don't have a clue of what this is or has ever done it. I'm going to try to explain it to everybody, and then, it may fill in some holes for people that didn't know everything. Okay, first things first, do I need a clutch adjustment? Okay, if you go to mash down your clutch and you have no free travel is the play you have at the top of the pedal. You don't want to be mashing your clutch on a large truck and it's hard to push from the very top to the bottom. You don't want that. When it's doing that, it's pulling on this release bearing all the time hard, and you don't want to do that. Okay, the next thing is, if you push your clutch pedal down and it's not bottoming out before it hits the floor, okay, or it's not hitting the clutch brake, I'll explain that in a moment. It's got to bottom out before it hits the floor. Like sometimes you go to put it in gear and you got to sit there extra long before you can get it in gear before it's not raking. You need to adjust your clutch. Okay, if you have these two issues, you definitely need to adjust the clutch. So here we go. Okay, first things first, you have an adjustment here on your pressure plate. This is the absolute first thing you do. Don't even think about touching no linkages or anything anywhere. And that is what this clip is about, is for mechanical linkage type clutches. The air assist linkages is fine, or they're just plain linkage. This is not for a hydraulic clutch, okay? There's some similarities. I'll do another one for hydraulic clutches if y'all want me to do that. But right here, for the manual linkages on clutches and adjusting these clutches, you have a adjustment right here. It looks just like this. You can press it in. When the clutch is pressed is the only time you can turn this. Okay, underneath your truck in the transmission, right in front of the transmission, there'll be a hole there. There may even be an inspection cover there. Take that down and you should be able to look up in here and see this adjustment somewhere. Look all the way around, look up in there. It may be up here, when you're looking up in there. It may be at the top or something. All you have to do is bump the starter, like simulate starting it, bump the starter to get the motor to turn till you get it down to this point. Okay, if you want, you can stick a bar somewhere and try prying the engine around, but big diesel engines, it's kind of difficult to do that. I'm just trying to tell you the easiest way to do it. Just bump the starter till you get it to come around to where the adjustment's at the bottom. Okay, you say, hey, I can't do that by myself. Hey, I do it all the time, and I'm going to tell you a couple of my tips. If the clutch was installed with adjustment on the bottom, more than likely the engine stopped at the end of a compression stroke, and adjustment will be at the bottom. I mean, that's how I do it. Some people just may not know that. But anyway, if for some reason it's not at the bottom and you need to bump the starter around, and you don't want to get up and down trying to see where it's at, open the hood of the truck. Look at the fan. Okay? Try bumping the starter and you can watch the fan. Sometimes these big diesel engines, the engine will rock. If you just bump the starter, it'll rock. Okay? That's not going to get your adjustment at the bottom. Okay? Watch the fan. Hold the starter just a little bit longer enough to where it goes, you know what I'm saying, and turns. You can see by the fan if the engine has turned to rotation or not. Then check it again. But I watch the fan to see if I've turned the engine a total stroke or not. But I can half tell by the sound of it myself. But anyway, you got to get the adjustment down at the bottom. Okay, if you have a helper, it's great to have a helper for a clutch adjustment. Lay under there and look up in there and have them to bump the starter, and say, hey, bump it harder, till it comes around. Okay, if for some reason the truck starts, just turn it off and start this process again till you get your adjustment at the bottom. Okay, once you finally get your adjustment down here at the bottom, you have to press in the clutch before this will turn. Once you want to adjust it and you get to this point, you have to press this in and turn it when the clutch is pressed. Okay. I'm going to give this tip as well. If you have somebody holding in that clutch and they're the same person that you were doing bumping the starter, kind of explain the process to them and tell them that, hey, we're done. We will not be bumping the starter anymore. Because I've heard of people having their hands up in here and putting a wrench on this, trying to turn it, and somebody bumped the starter. It's a good way to lose a hand. That's the tip. But anyway, when you get up and under here, you're going to have a large gap, more than likely, if you're out of adjustment, like I told you the things earlier. Okay, what you'll do is you'll run this in clockwise. I don't know which way this video is going to show it, but you need to go in clockwise. What that'll do, that'll send your release bearing backwards closer to your clutch brake. Okay, you want something that's a 1/2 inch. I use these filler gauges that's 1/2 inch wide, or a hacksaw blade, or anything that's 1/2 inch. Run this bearing back by adjusting this until you get a 1/2 inch here. Okay, once you get to that point, you are done down here. If you get your 1/2 inch here, you are done down here. You're done. Forget this part here, you're done. However, if you are working on a Mack truck, Macks are just a little bit closer than a 1/2 inch. You know, you put your tool in there, but only Mack is like that, okay? Getting back to this, all other trucks besides Mack. But anyway, you want your 1/2 inch gap right here. Once you get that, you are done down here. You're done. Like I said, you button this up, put your cover back on, or if it had one, you're done down here. Then you go up into the cab and you feel your pedal. More than likely, depending on how far you had to run this, is how far out of adjustment you were. It's probably going to tell you how much extra free travel you'll have in your linkage. Okay, if you have way excessive much, again, the recommended is like 1.5 to 2 inch for people. It's a lot of driver preference to a certain extent, or owner preference. But I mean, I like it around 2 inch, 1.5 inch. It's no big deal. Different trucks feel different. But anyway, you want that free travel there. And plus, when you mash the clutch down, you want it bottoming out before it hits the floor. The clutch pedal here says around 1/2 inch to 1 inch off the floor. It don't matter. You just want it before it hits the floor. Myself, I like it close to the floor, but not hitting the floor. But anyway, like I said, you want that free travel, and then you want it bottoming out before it hit the floor. Okay, to do that, lots of times you have to shorten the linkages. Depending on, I can't specify anything because all different truck manufacturers have different linkage styles. But regardless, you will have to adjust the linkage to take that free travel out if you adjusted it very far. But again, your goal is to have a little bit of free travel and to bottom out before you hit the floor, okay? If for some reason that you do this and you cannot get your 1/2 inch or your free travel right, and you've ran out of adjustment on your linkage, guess what? Your clutch is worn out. You got to do something else. You may have bell housing bushings worn out, all kinds of different factors to the point that something has to be repaired. Like I say, when you get this part down here and then you go to the top and you can't make it happen to get the clutch pedal to feel the way you want it to feel, you've got some kind of a problem. You need to address it. You need to tell this person, hey, you need a clutch, or you need to realize yourself, hey, I need a clutch because I can't get this thing to adjust up right, and I've done everything that the gearman said. But again, you can go in here and you can talk about the 1/8 inch at the fork and all that, but that's a joke. I'm talking about real time here. So don't worry about this. Just worry about what I told you. You won't go wrong.